for that. Now, let's also look at another story that made headlines this week. Now, hours after the High Court declared the housing levy unconstitutional, President William Ruto noted that his administration will readjust the housing levy in line with the Constitution. Now, speaking in Nairobi, President Ruto noted that the government cannot afford to scrap off the levy now, because that would mean rendering hundreds of thousands of people employed under the housing program jobless. Now, the opposition, on the other hand, welcomed the High Court's decision.
I know the court have said we should go and readjust the law to make it aligned appropriately. That we are going to do, so that the 120,000 people can become 200,000 and can become 500,000 in the next 5 years. Because if we don't engage these people in productive work, they will become a very big challenge to all of us.
Ni ushindi mkubwa wa azimio la umoja wa Kenya. Na ile wengine nasema unless wateremshe fuel tax kutoka 16% mpaka 8%, sisi tumeweka wazi hatukubaliani na hao.
Unajua hii housing levy, hata sisi kama county governments, ukiwa na staff umeambiwa lazima uweke pesa pale kando ya housing levy na haukuwa nayo ndani ya budget. Sasa sisi wote tumeshukuru koti kwa sababu wamesema housing levy iwekwe wapi? Kando.
Nataka kuuliza Mheshimiwa Ruto, ile pesa ilikuwa imekatwa wa Kenya, payslip ya mwezi huu irudishwe kwa payslip ili Wakenya waende wakakule Christmas nayo.
All right, now, Gishinga, when you listen to the sentiments by the leaders there, and now the housing levy, of course, in this month, the employees will be, salaried employees will still be paying the 1.5%. So, therefore, when you had the court declare this unconstitutional, what came to your mind?
Well, I think there was a sense of relief for the 3.2 million people whose pay slips have to part with 1.5%. But obviously there was a stay that was invoked, meaning that the deductions will still continue for this month. But I think that idea that it lacked the constitutionality, I think a lot of Kenyans rejoiced at that, which means the government has to go back to the drawing board to ask themselves, you know, why is this thing facing so much opposition? Actually, if you look at the difference between the opposition and the government, the two central things are the housing levy and the VAT on fuel, the 16%. So I think it's going to be a challenge for the government to go back to the drawing board to rethink it, because what this is doing is reducing people's purchasing power. It's reducing the money in circulation, and it's slowing down the economy. You can feel the economy has slowed down, and it's causing people a lot of anxiety. So if they can find a solution of doing the same project but without reducing people's purchasing power, because a lot of people are saying, I already have a house, I don't need this. I already have a mortgage, I don't need this. I'm in a rented house, I'm okay with it. So I think it still needs a bit more public participation, and I think that's what has been lacking. It's been rushed. It feels like it has been rushed. Public participation has not been what the Constitution had envisioned. So hopefully in the next 2-3 months, those sort of like events will take place.
Also, when we look at a president is talking about there are people who've been employed under the housing levy sort of scheme. So how real is it? And when we look at the effect after it's maybe been scrapped off, is saying some people are going to be rendered jobless. When the president speaks about something like this, what does it really mean?
I mean, already very many people have been rendered jobless, even without the housing program. If you look at the latest report by the Federation of Kenyan Employers, it says about 70,000 jobs have been lost in 2023 across all sectors, from manufacturing to services. So we are in an economic challenge. We have an economy that doesn't create jobs. And the only way you can fix that is there are two key ways. Number one is to reduce taxes, and number two is to lower interest rates so that there's a bit more cash in circulation. Fixing the housing program and expecting that to create jobs for the rest of the economy, it's very unrealistic. Yes, you'll create jobs for the carpenters and the masons, but what about the rest of everybody else? Because, you know, Nyakundi, 9 companies in the stock exchange have already issued a profit warning, and they have nothing to do with construction.
Yes.
So you cannot use one sector to trigger jobs in every sector. What you have to do is look at what I call the leading economic indicators and say interest rates are too high. Let's reduce our borrowing so interest rates come down. Taxes are too high. When you do that, all the sectors, including construction, benefits from that. So you want to look at broad-based indicators. You don't want to target one sector and say that's the one sector that will create jobs. It doesn't work like that in economics. Yeah.
Right, and also still on this housing levy issue. Now, 10th January is the date of the ultimatum, of the implementation that has been given. Now, when it reaches that date, and then we have maybe the court again reversing its, because we've seen this happen before. The court says this, and then after some time, they come back and say, okay, so we have upheld whatever the government is talking about. So when it comes to the 10th of January, and then the government or we see that the unconstitutionality that they've given has been has been reversed. What then happens? So we continue paying the 1.5%, but now what will this do to the economy?
I mean,
in a new year, I mean.
Absolutely. I mean, you start January, first of all, with all the demands. January comes with school fees, possibly higher rents and such. But the purchasing power is still quite subdued because not many employers have given employees salary increments. It's not like in the US or in the UK where you're finding professionals getting higher salaries to cope with inflation. We're not seeing that here in Kenya so much. So it means you start January on a difficult note in terms of people will be struggling to make ends meet. And this is the key challenge right now. So it puts the government in a difficult situation because you're trying to create jobs, but the policies you're pushing are actually making it difficult. Many manufacturers in Nyakundi right now are trying to see what other country they can go to. So I think it's very important that particularly the Treasury, the Central Bank, the Council of Economic Advisors really come together and come up with a jobs recovery plan, because at the end of the day, it's not GDP that matters. It's really jobs creation. You can say GDP has grown 5%,
yes,
but if it's not contributed to real visible jobs, then it's not very, very powerful. So I think that will be the challenge moving forward. Yeah.
Right. Now, we're going to hold it right there and go for a short break. But when we come back, we're also going to be speaking about tax reforms. We'll be looking at earlier on in the week, William Ruto, the president, William Ruto, spoke about Kenya. The cost of living has gone down, so we would like also to go through that and see what this also means also. So don't go too far, just hold it right there. Ken Gishinga will still be here with us and we'll be speaking about this, so we'll be back with more.